When it comes to being a solo filmmaker, finding the best camera for your needs can feel impossible. With so many options and a seemingly endless variety of specs, price points, and features, it can be overwhelming to know what's actually worth investing in. As a freelance creative, you need a camera that's capable of shooting professional videos for clients, but at the same time, many of us solo filmmakers don't have huge budgets to work with, so gear purchases have to be intentional and worthwhile. So today, I want to talk about 5 reasons that I invested in the Sony FX3 as my main cinema camera, and why it does everything I needed to do as a solo filmmaker. After using the Sony FX3 for a while now, I can confidently say this camera has absolutely been worth the investment for me. So let's dive in. First up, and the most important reason I invested in the Sony FX3 is the low light performance. I started off my video career on the Sony A7C. Over time, I eventually invested in the Sony FX3, and I used that for about a year and noticed that there seemed to be some limitations when it came to low light capabilities. With the Sony FX3, the dual base ISO shooting at 2500 just wasn't giving me enough in those low light situations. So I saved up and eventually purchased the FX3. I read that the dual base ISO of 800 and 12,800 was a major difference from the FX3. So at that dual base of 12,800 ISO, plus a full frame sensor, you can shoot in some of the darkest environments and still get clean, detailed footage. In fact, with a lot of music content that I do, I'm shooting at 12,800 ISO and use an ND filter to control the exposure of the room that I'm in. My clients are blown away at the shots that I can get in low light, and it's all thanks to that 12,800 ISO. For a lot of us solo filmmakers who don't have big budgets or huge crews to work with and help shape and control the lighting in every room that we're in, having in-camera flexibility is a must, and the FX3 delivers. Next is the form factor. The FX3 is super compact and lightweight, especially compared to other cameras with similar features and price points, which is so important for me. I can easily fully rig it out with a cage and mic and V-mount battery and monitor, or I can strip it down and have a much more run and gun setup. I know there are lots of filmmakers out there that use the FX6 for documentary and corporate work, and I get the hype. Internal NDs I would love to see on the FX3. But for me, it's been worth it to have that smaller form factor, in-camera image stabilization, and even when it's fully rigged out, it's still super easy to carry in my Pelican, in my backpack, or just around. So the form factor is a must for me. The third reason is dual card recording. I shot solo for years on cameras that only had one memory card, and even though I personally never had a problem with a corrupted card, now that I'm using a dual card recording system, the dual card recording now gives me such peace of mind when I'm capturing content. Having a dual SD card slot is one of those you don't know you need it until you have it type of situations, and I don't think I'll ever be able to go back. The FX3 lets you record simultaneously on both SD and CF Express cards, so you have an automatic backup every time you're recording, which is huge for solo filmmakers. So combine that with my workflow of backing up all of my footage onto my iPad mini right on set after a shoot, gives me 3 instant locations of the raw footage right on set. So multiple backups and easy workflow have been huge for my creative process and workflow. I spent the first few years of my video production business Fohrm shooting only on APS-C sensors. It might be a hot take, but I actually don't think you need a full frame sensor as a solo filmmaker, especially if you're just starting out. I spent years without it and I managed okay. If you're shooting on something like the Sony A7C or the FX3, you can still get incredible results with those APS-C sensors. Over time, I learned to shoot in a log profile and use that for 95% of my workflow, and it was a huge improvement in my creative workflow. It was amazing the data and the results that I could get from shooting a log, and simply applying a LUT after and then grading in post was amazing for me. In fact, this video and all of my videos are color graded using my Fohrm LUT. You can find all the information on this LUT in the description below. This is the LUT that I use both in personal and client videos and gives you a one-click cinematic look for every video that you shoot. I'll be doing an in-depth tutorial soon here on YouTube, but for now, feel free to click the link, explore the LUT, and see if it works for you. All that said, I worked years professionally without a full-frame sensor, but I will say that transitioning to a full-frame sensor has been a huge improvement for me and my gear. And the full frame sensor on the FX3 is truly remarkable, especially for the price point. The dynamic range, the depth of field, and the color that I'm able to capture using S-Log feels so rich and cinematic right out of the camera. And all that data crammed into those files helps a ton in post, especially when you're cropping vertically for social media content. Again, it's amazing to have the same full frame sensor that's used in the FX6, which is double the size and price, in such a small body as the FX3 is really amazing. It gives my workflow the flexibility that I need without requiring a massive and overly expensive rig. And finally, reason number 5, 2 essential features for me: internal fan and tally lights. I've done a lot of long form recording with the FX3 for video podcasts and sit down interviews, and I've never once had this camera overheat. The built-in cooling feature of the FX3 comes in so handy when you're shooting long content, and I can't imagine ever going back. The second feature that's a must for me is tally lights. This camera has multiple tally lights that light up when you're recording, and for someone like me who usually shoots with a clean HDMI feed on my monitor, knowing I'm actually recording by looking at the tally lights on the camera is literally essential for me. I wish so badly that the Pyro 7 from Hollyland, which is the main monitor that I use on a daily basis, would include a tally marker feature in the monitor itself, but I guess I'll just have to keep dreaming for that. So Hollyland, if you're watching this, please update this. But for me, internal fan and tally lights have been essential features for my creative workflow, and the FX3 just delivers. So there you have it. 5 reasons I invested in the Sony FX3 as my main cinema camera as a solo filmmaker, and how it's become the perfect camera for me. If you're a solo shooter or a freelance filmmaker, you definitely don't need the Sony FX3. There are so many amazing cameras on the market at so many different price points, and the technology we have access today is incredible. But for me and my workflow and the needs of my clients, the FX3 has been well worth the investment and has paid for itself time and time again. But what about you? What are you shooting with? Let me know in the comments if you use the FX3, if you chose the FX6 over the FX3, or what you're using in your creative workflow. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.